Hi, I'm Benjamin Sears. Welcome to Movement Stacks, morsels of nourishing movement and meditation that you can do anywhere. If you're enjoying these practices, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Today's practice will focus on some low back decompression with hip activation and some twisting postures. Start by lying down on your back. We're going to work on lateral breathing, which is a way to lengthen your back in postures. Put your hands on your lower ribs. Inhale, pull your belly down on the inhale, but use your hands to pull your ribs down and together. So the purpose of this breathing is to learn to lengthen your low back without flaring your ribs outwards and making a sharp U-turn at your lumbar thoracic junction. With every exhale, continue to pull your ribs down and imagine that you're exhaling through your belly button and out to the sides. So each inhale broadens your lower torso, and each exhale, pull your ribs down and together. But the key here really, you can keep your hands on your ribs as a guide. The key here really is to continue to maintain the rib closed position on both inhale and exhale. And as you ramp up more intensity with this, you can do it from your feet as well. Lift your toes and start to push down through your feet without lifting your hips. You'll feel more decompression in your low back. So inhale, pull belly in. Imagine expanding at the sides of your torso by your obliques. And then exhale, pull your ribs in down and keep your exhale moving out to the sides. And essentially just trying to crush the floor with your lower back and push down with your feet. You should get a nice feeling of decompression in your lower back. Now we're going to use this breathing technique and abdominal positioning in the short practice today. Exhale again, nice, feel that length in your back, feels so nice. And then from there, just roll over to your left side and you can support your head with your hands. So I want you to keep that same position in your abdominals so that we can isolate movement in the hip here. Open your right hip out to the side, your right knee out to the side. Put your hand on your knee and keep your hips pointing straight ahead so only the knee opens. Start axial rotations of your right hip, which means that your knee stays in the same bend and it doesn't actually move. We're just rotating the femur bone inwards and outwards. Keep your hand pressing into your knee. And with every breath, pull your ribs in and your low belly down. So the movement is completely isolated as a rotation here in your hip, which brings blood and nutrition into your hip. This is great if you happen to have to sit a lot. This is just great if you have hips. We're going to do about another 15 seconds here. Remember to continue to pull your belly in to lengthen. Keep your hand on your knee like this, even though I'm gesticulating to enunciate the instructions here. Next time your foot comes into the outer position, right? Keep your low ribs in, keep your back straight, and each exhale for 3 breaths, try to internally rotate your hip more, which means reach your ankle outwards. But notice I'm not moving my knee, like this position stays the same. Good, now circle your knee behind you without arching your lower back. Pause here, and then change directions. Reach back with your heel, and then lead from the outer ankle so you're internally rotating your hip, and then keep reaching. Maybe you can tap your foot on top of your knee, and then knees come together like a side swipe. Put your hand on your lower back so you can feel that your lower back muscles don't engage. Lead from your outer ankle. Keep that circle going. Lead from your inner ankle. Knees come together. Now put a little more tension in your belly so that when you reach back through your heel, it's isolated in the hip, and it might even feel like a nice stretch in your back. Outer ankle leads, inner ankle leads, knees together, and then just push yourself up. Bring your left foot forward and your right foot back so you have 2 90-degree angles, one in each leg. Press into the floor with your shin and your knee so that you can move your left sitting bone out to its own side. And then 10 times fold forward and come up. You can do this with or without your hands. Prioritize arching your upper back and closing your ribs with that same lateral breathing technique we used just a few moments ago. If it's quite easy, you can use your hands. You can remove your hands. However, keep all of the work in your hip. So avoid the temptation to round your back. Press your ankle down, press your knee down. Good. Next time you go forward, pause at the last point before you feel like you need to rest on your leg, and just let the tension ramp up in that hip. And then push yourself up, slide your right knee in, and just roll over onto your right side now. So support your head and bring your left knee out to the side. Flex your foot and start axial rotations of the left hip. So the key here is not to move too fast so that you can keep the tension in your belly and actually start to intensify the isometrics within the movement. In other words, like build tension internally so that it's as if you're moving through like thick air, like there's some resistance in the air, so you're not just trying to like flop your foot back and forth as fast as you can, but with each rep, start to ramp up the intensity so you truly activate your hip. Next time your foot comes to the outer position, which is actually internal rotation of the hip, circle your leg behind you, pause, try to bring your left knee almost to the floor and your left heel above the height of your knee, and then bring your hand to your low back, tuck your tailbone, lead from your outer ankle, lead from your inner ankle, keep that nice, strong, straight low back from the abdominals, side swipe your knees, and then continue the circle. As your heel reaches back, you have to do more work in your core to keep your back straight so you can isolate the movement in your hip. Try to tap your heel above your knee, side swipe your knees. Last one, strong exhale, pull your belly in, lead from the outer ankle, lead from the inner ankle, knees come together, and then just come up. Now right leg forward, left leg back. If this position is too hard, you could bring this foot closer, you could bend this knee more, but ideally 90 and 90. Hands on the floor. If you need, press down into the floor, make good contact, and then push yourself up and down. Feel for pulling yourself down from the tissue on the inside of this leg, and then push yourself back up. Again, if you don't need your hands, you can lift your hands, but control the movement up and down because we're trying to turn this hip on. We're not just trying to fall forward into a stretch. So as you come forward, pull your ribs together and reach the crown of your head forward. Next time, not this time, but the next time that you fold, hover and press into the floor. Nice, bring yourself up. Good, and then just come onto your hands and knees and bring your knees a little closer together and your feet a little bit out so that you internally rotate your hips here. Take an inhale into your lower back and round your entire spine as much as you can, reaching your ankles out and your knees in. That internal rotation will give you a little bit more space in your lower back. Good. Now inhale and look forward. Start to arch your back. We're going to go one time through the entire spine. Glide your chin back instead of throwing your face forward so that you feel activation in between your shoulder blades. Let your butt go up. Keep your arms straight, pushing into the floor. And then again, start to tuck your tailbone, and this time bring your knees together. Keep your feet out, round your whole back. It's going to feel a little bit restrictive, but also more stretchy in your lower back. And then from there, feet come a little closer together and just lean back into sort of a modified child's pose stretch. Good. From there, crawl forward on your hands. Try to keep your knees together when you go to down dog with bent knees, which is going to be, a little bit challenging here. And then come down to your knees, point your feet, and go back to this little child's pose with the knees together and the feet apart. This time start to come forward, put your elbows down, and then put your hands down by spinning them in, and then just pull your hands apart, turn them forward, and now you'll be ready for another cat pose, rounding your back. Good. From there, lean back, crawl your hands as far forward as they go, and then come forward and take downward dog if you can with your knees together. Just do your best to keep them together. They might not stay. Nice. And then knees down, point your feet, and lean back into child's pose. Again, pulling your ribs down so you feel more space in your lower back. Slide your elbows back, turn your hands so they face in, and then just slide them apart, knees together, round your lower back. So we're really trying to get that nice space between your vertebrae. Lean back and stretch your hands forward. Take an inhale here into your low back. Exhale, do lateral breathing to pull your ribs down and look a little forward, lengthening your back. Crawl your fingers forward. Again, take downward facing dog with your knees together if you can. Good, and then come forward into plank pose, and that measure should be perfect. It should be like hands right under shoulders and balls of feet right under heels. Nice, and then bend your knees and do the best you can to bring your knees together while pulling your belly in and sticking your butt up into this bent knee down dog. And again, put your knees down. Lean back into child's pose with your hips right inside your heels and slide your elbows back. Turn your hands inwards and then just slide them apart. Turn them forward and round your back one more time into this nice round cow shape. And then, well, I guess it's actually called cat. I don't know why I always get those two animals confused. They're really not that similar. And then lean back and crawl your hands forward again. Pull yourself forward and take downward dog with your knees bent. Hips really high, knees together if you can. And then rotate your knees back to the normal position and step your right foot forward all the way in line with your right hand. Come down into a lunge. From there, left hand stays down, roll your left hip forward and bring your right arm up into just a little twist here. From there, straighten your back leg, and as you do that, move your sitting bones together and pull your left shoulder back so you come into this nice twist. Put your left knee down, take your right hand, turn it backwards inside your right foot, point your left foot, and bring your left arm up. And then look forward to turn your head to twist. So you're twisting up against the internal rotation and the forward movement of your left hip. Take your left hand, put it down on the mat with your fingers in reverse so that your hands are now hips width apart. And then step your left foot outside your left hand so that both heels touch the outside of both thumbs. Inhale and arch your back, bend your knees, stick your butt out. Exhale, fold just as far as you can with your body and legs touching each other. And then again, step your right foot back, bring your knee down, take your left arm, bring it up, push from the ball of your right foot to pull your left hip around, look forward, and again, turn your heart to turn your head and reach up. From there, sweep your left arm down, but just step your left foot forward so your feet are now hips width distance apart, and you can measure by putting your two fists between your feet, and you'll have a perfect measure there. And then straighten your legs, inhale into your belly, close your ribs, and round up your spine. So purposefully round your back to make a little length. Hands go to your ribs. Exhale, pull ribs down, start to round down, feeling on purpose a stretch in your back. When you get halfway down, take an inhale and feel for pulling your ribs upwards so you actually round your back more. We're purposely going into spinal flexion. Nice, and then exhale, tuck tailbone, round more. Inhale again here. Exhale, round the rest of the way down. Both hands come to the ground, and then step back, feet 1, 2 into plank pose. Bend your knees, knees together if you can for this down dog variation. Look forward, step your left foot now to your left hand. Bend your back knee down, and if you get your armpit and your knee together and keep your back leg back, you'll find the archetypal measure for a lunge. From there, left arm up into a twist, but keep this left knee in, and then straighten your right leg and pull yourself from your right shoulder blade pulling back, pull yourself more into a twist. Good, and then find the diagonal cross reference from the ball of your left foot to the ball of your right foot so that you very slightly turn your pelvis like a steering wheel to the left. Good, and then sweep your left hand down, turn your hand around so your fingers are in reverse, bend your right knee down, point your right foot, sweep your right arm up, look straight ahead. Always before you twist, look straight ahead and then turn your head, and that'll be your neck will be a lot happier with that. So here, it's left hip back and left knee in, and then very slightly bend your left elbow and reach up through your right arm. And for me, I feel a nice sensation of space in my right lower back. Okay, look down, bring your hands down so your hands kind of match each other, but they should be shoulder width apart, and step your right foot forward so your right heel lines up with your right thumb. Inhale to arch your back. This will challenge your hips. Good, and then exhale, bend your elbows and fold only as far as you can keep your body and legs connected. Step your right foot back again, bend your right knee down, and then right arm sweeps up. Point your back foot. Good, roll your right hip forward and feel for pulling almost upwards with your left knee. Put a little tiny secret bend in your left elbow so you can bring your left lung forward. So left hip over at 9, right hip at 3, coccyx behind you at 6, and then go forward through the crown of your head to 12 and turn your heart to 2 o'clock, which is the drishti of joy when you orient yourself towards the future, or in other words, to catch a moving target. You have to shoot the arrow ahead of the target. Nice, so right arm comes down but not to the floor, and then step your right foot forward, and again you can take your measure, your 2 fists between your heels, and as these measures become more second nature, you'll just fit yourself naturally. And then from there, really struggling with these AirPods today. From there, straighten your legs, good, and grip with your toes. Before you start to come up, inhale and start to round your back on purpose. Let your arms hang heavy. You can pause halfway and inhale into your back to round a little more. And then slowly come all the way up. Nice. And then we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side, where you just take this little hand to rib position, inhale into your back, and think that your pubic bone comes forward and your nose goes towards your thighs. Pause here, inhale, pull your ribs up, exhale, round a little more, and then pause here, try to inhale a little more, like a little longer, so that it feels like you balloon your back upwards. Exhale, round a little deeper, and then take it all the way down. Nice. You can now relax your belly for a moment. Good. Put your hands on the floor and step back into plank pose. From plank pose, downward facing dog. Again, try to bring knees together, lengthening out your lower back a little bit more. Bring your knees down to the ground. Lean back into this modified child's pose with heels apart and knees together. And then again, just slide your elbows back, turn your hands in, sweep your hands out, pivot on your thumb knuckle, and come up into this knees together round spine shape. Take a breath here. Try to get a little more space in your lower back. Good. And then again, lean back, reach your hands forward, feel the nice stretch up the sides of your back, and bring yourself forward. Tuck your toes, straighten your legs, and then bend your knees, lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Look forward, step your right foot all the way to your right hand. If you need a little help to get it there, you can grab it with the other hand. And for this variation, you're going to take your left foot and turn it like warrior one, and move your left foot to the left so that your feet are not in the same line heel to heel, but instead you have some space, like the width of your sitting bones. From there, left hand again flips in line with your right heel. Put your right hand on your lower back and try to move your hips to the left and square them to the front of the mat. So over here at my left hip, I'm trying to go to 9 o'clock. Over here, I'm trying to find 3 so that the longitudinal axis of the pose going this way is facing towards 12. And then take your right arm and bring it up into a twist. And this is actually a pretty demanding pose if you really work the hips. Press through your feet. Good. Roll your right hip back. Reach your right knee forward. And pull your left ribs down to turn your heart. And then take your right hand, bring it down in line with your left and in line with your foot. Look forward and take your left arm and bring it up. Now we're trying to keep the same hip position throughout. So it's really like you're on a spit and you maintain the strength and structure and stability of your pelvis so that your heart is the piece that can sing out. Right, so when you have good ground underneath you, then your heart and lungs have support, and then you can turn your head and have good vision. Bring your left hand down. Step your left foot outside your left hand, just like we did before. And then arch your back just a little, bend your knees, stick your butt out, and fold as deep as you can with your body and legs still touching. From there, step your left foot back, point your left foot, bring your foot down, bring your left arm up. Here's the easier version of the twist. Look forward to turn your head. And then again, sweep your arm down, step your left foot forward so your feet are hips width apart. Measure if you like. And then this time, grab a hold of your calves and start to round your back on purpose. You can even hold the back of your knees depending on your flexibility. And then inhale into your back and try to round your back upwards against the pull against your legs. So we're just strengthening a little bit in this flex position so your back is a little bit more bulletproof. Nice. Again, inhale, pull with your hands and resist that pull by trying to round your back upwards. Beautiful. Should feel like a nice stretch in your low back. And then bend your knees, pull yourself down, hands down, step back into plank pose, plank to downward facing dog. And now left foot all the way forward. Bend your back knee down just for a moment. Turn your right hand and flip it so the heel of the hand and the heel of the foot line up, and take your back foot and turn it to warrior one. So from this side, you'll really see the truth about my hips in this position. These are challenging poses for the hips. So as much as I'm trying to square my hips to the front of the mat, I am no more an archetype than you are, so we're all just doing our best here. So look forward, bring your left arm up, left hip back, good, and then turn your head towards your hand. And use your right hand pushing back and your left foot pushing forward to keep trying to find the center of the pose. Pull your right ribs down. Again, I feel a lot of work in my right hip and some stretch in my right lower back. Bend your right elbow a little bit. Turn your head. Move your hips to the right. Sweep your left hand down. Good. Bring your right arm up. And then before you turn your head, keep knowing that you're turning the steering wheel of your pelvis to the left. So it's like you're trying to put a tray on your back and keep it there. Good. And then look out. Turn your head up to the ceiling. So it's a twist here with your right hip coming forward and your heart twisting to the right. So there's always a counterbalancing twist. Nice. And then just bring your hands down. Again, hips distance apart. Step your right foot in front of your right hand. Arch your back a little bit, stick your butt up, and then fold just as deep as you can with good contact. Now step your right foot back. Bring your right knee down, point your right foot, take your right arm, bring it up and look forward and turn your head into the twist. And then again from there, sweep your arm behind you and step your right foot. See if you can naturally find that hips width distance. Take a hold of your calves or the back of your knees and start to round up against the resistance of your grip. Inhale into your back and push your back towards the ceiling, really getting some space in there. Exhale, round a little more. Nice, and then this time, bend your knees and come down into your best version of a squat. And then just sit down, bring your elbows by your sides and roll yourself down your back until you're lying all the way down. You can straighten your legs. Relax your arms out to the side. Inhale down into the space that you created in your lower back. So these lower back decompressive practices are really good for your neurology because when your low back is tight and squished, you become acute. And when you become acute, you become angular. And when you become angular, you become reactive. It's like being too wired. So in your low back is where your kidneys and adrenals live, so they need space to operate. And they respond to the sound of your breath because they respond to the element of water. So listen to the sound of your own breath in your ears and be soothed. Let your breath become quieter and silkier, more natural. And feel the sweetness that lives inside you that you can tap into through movement and meditation. And put little tiny smile on your face because you feel it. So I'll leave you right here to rest as long as you like. Maybe give yourself an extra minute beyond where you feel the first impetus to rise. And I hope that wherever you are, that you can have a peaceful rest of your day. Thanks for joining for this movement snack.